What is up, YouTube? I'm Devon Da Vinci, leader of the Renaissance Crew, and you're watching Da Vinci Reacts. I know that yesterday and maybe today, I've had some interesting video choices. There's not really a full-on plan as far as what I upload. I just surf the net. If I see a video that interests me, I'll do a reaction to it. So just know, normally there's not a theme for the videos that I release, because either today or yesterday I released this video, and I released a bunch of videos that were video game related that had nothing to do with China. So I was like, where am I going with this? But just know that's the way that this channel tends to work. This video is part 2 of a series of videos called The Animated History of China. The video was created by, again, Subin. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. You do have to admit that it is tough for somebody to pronounce it based on the way that it's spelled. So I'll take half credit for butchering that pronunciation. Part 1 is already up on my channel, and it's already up on the original channel also. If you want to check out the original channel, I'll have a link for it at the end of my video. The last 30 seconds, it'll pop up right around here. If you enjoy this type of content, click on it, check it out. Their channel covers a bunch of different animated histories of countries. They have a bunch of different countries on their channel right now. So if you want to check out more of those, go check that out. If you want me to do a reaction to any of the other ones, then leave it in the comment section. Let me know what country that you want to see covered, and I'll see if I can do a reaction to it. Now, with that being said, let's jump into this, see what it has to offer. This is part 2, so I'm guessing it's going to go at least to the communist revolution and things. I don't know if it's going to come straight to like modern day, but it would be interesting. Let's check this out.
This video is made possible by Skillshare. Join the millions of users already learning by heading to Skillshare at the link below to get your first 2 months of premium membership for free. The Mongols under Ögedei Khan would grow rapidly into a large organized empire. The land flourished in Mongol law, and they financed their state through large-scale raids. The Chinese of the Jin and the Song dynasty were no match for the rapid horse-based warfare of the Mongols, whose entire strategy was based on lightning warfare. By 1271, Kublai Khan was crowned Great Khan and Emperor of all China, beginning the Huan dynasty.
See, I'm only really familiar with Kublai Khan because of the Civilization games. I never really knew his relation to Genghis Khan, or even if they were related. For all I know, Khan is just a title.
The Mongols brought with them their law, customs, and steppe traditions which blended with those of East Asia. Commerce and technology increased in the multi-ethnic empire, but it did not last very long. An inflation crisis due to the overissue of Mongol currency, as well as quite a few earthquakes, started to make the Chinese question whether heaven really wanted the Huan Mongols to rule, and soon an all-out revolt ensued, with Huanzhang driving the Mongols back to Central Asia and crowning himself the first Ming emperor. The last 2 dynasties of China were the Ming and the Qing. Both presided over China's early modern period and shared similarities in policy.
And the Qing
One,
dynasty
isolationism.
went on for a long time.
Both dynasties pursued aggressive self-defense measures
recently.
amid quite a lot of xenophobia. This manifested in the cutting of funding to the navy to fund other projects such as the Great Wall. 2, both had terrible mismanagement of money. Being unwilling to trade with foreign powers beyond the port of Canton led to an increased self-reliance and decreased sphere of influence. 3,
Japan
both
kinda had
failed
the
to
same
recognize
thing.
the threat of foreign powers in their waters, all of whom would play a direct role in collapsing the dynastical system by the turn of the century. China's unwillingness to modernize and trade with the West would lead indirectly to the Opium Wars and the Taiping Rebellion by parties like the British, French, and Japanese, who had a vested interest in opening up China to trade and Christianity. This in turn would spark the Boxer Rebellion as a counter-revolt against foreign influence in China. The Qing had dealt with none of these problems well enough, and soon revolts were more common than peace. Critiques view the failure of the Qing as the century of humiliation. In 1912, the Qin collapsed, and China fractured into numerous pieces of independent states called cliques. also known as the Warlord era. China
Clicks.
would need to unify, and to do that a Republican movement under Sun Yat-sen allied with the Communists under the CCP to fight the warlords on a united front. This went about as well as you would expect, with Kuomintang leader Chiang Kai-shek.
I'm just noticing a really big time jump. We were just at like, what, 300 AD, and now we're at 1970 or 1927. I feel like, well, unless like a lot of stuff just didn't really happen during those particular times. Like I know they had the two dynasties that covered around 600 years, between 1300 and 1900, but it kind of jumped during that Mongol period.
This went about as well as you would expect, with Kuomintang leader Chiang Kai-shek purging and executing communists en masse, breaking the fragile alliance. Soon, it was civil war, and the CCP were on the brink of annihilation. Were it not for a near miraculous retreat of thousands of kilometers under Mao Zedong, called the Long March.
I've heard of this.
This incredible journey helped recruit new members. But the war had to be put on hold in 1932, when the Imperial Japanese Army invaded the Manchurian cliques, and were now at the doorstep of China proper. With the threat of the Japanese, the two sides formed a united second front. The Japanese army invaded China in 1937 after a fabricated Chinese skirmish at the Marco Polo Bridge in Beijing. The war was tragic for the Chinese, with the second highest casualties of the entire Second World War. Millions of civilians and soldiers lost their lives for a state that did not technically exist. The ill-prepared and badly led Chinese armies were no match for the strict discipline of the Japanese Imperial Army, with many blunders during the invasion. At one point, the Republican Army even accidentally drowning 500,000 people while flooding the Yellow River in an attempt to halt the Japanese advance. After a 3-month-long siege at Shanghai...
Learned that from the Fall of World War II video, or the Fallen of World War II video. Check that out on the channel.
River in an attempt to halt the Japanese advance. After a 3-month-long siege at Shanghai, the devastated Republican Army retreated to the capital at Nanking, which fell to the Japanese on the 13th of December.
You gotta talk about that.
An event you probably haven't heard about in the West known as the Rape of Nanking. The Japanese were so senselessly brutal to the Chinese.
Is this the... It's been a minute since I've looked at this channel, but I believe it was the Cynical Historian. I love this dude's channel. I love his channel so much. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. He has a ton of different content where he talks about a bunch of different things, history related, mainly like events and the history of certain particular things, not necessarily countries, but like the history of political parties, the history of movements, the like certain things like that. Like he does a bunch of great stuff.
About in the West known as the Rape of Nanking. The Japanese were so senselessly brutal to the Chinese that the Nazi ambassador was the voice of reason and is now celebrated as a hero in China. His letters and journals from the time tell of how up to 300,000 people were raped and murdered.
Last night, up to 1,000 women and girls are said to have been raped. You hear nothing but rape. If husbands or brothers intervene, they're shot. What you hear and see on all sides is the brutality and bestiality of the Japanese soldiers.
Letters and journals from the time tell of how up to 300,000 people were raped and murdered during the occupation. There were even contests to see which officers could behead 100
I've
people
heard
with
about
their
this one. It
swords
was in the
the
newspapers.
fastest time. The results of which were printed in Japanese newspapers with the same tone that you would expect to see when reporting on a baseball game. Why has this event been mostly forgotten to history and in some cases flat out denied?
Because the Japanese are now allies with the winners of the war. And you wouldn't want to put your allies in a bad light, so you don't acknowledge those parts of history. Now, while the Japanese people that are around today are different than the people that were doing these things, from what I remember, the Japanese government was pretty much taken over by the military during that time, and the military for Japan has pretty much been wiped out. I believe they still have some type of defense force, but they really rely on allied powers to help defend them nowadays. But Japan, the only downside I put on Japan now is they still deny a lot of the things that happened in World War II. And it's like, At this point, just embrace it. Look at Germany, for example. I always point to Germany as a great example of somebody that took responsibility and didn't necessarily put any type of asterisk next to it. Like anytime somebody says, Germany, what about you? You fucked up in World War II. Germany's always like, you're right. We fucked up. That was our bad. Our bad. 100%. No denying it. Period. We fucked up. Our bad. Like, look at how Germany takes responsibility. And it's like, we're not holding that over their head anymore because they have accepted that responsibility. Like, we fucked up. We shouldn't have done that. And we're sorry. And then they try to make amends to fix it. They have it where you have to, I believe everybody in Germany has to go to the internment camps and stuff in order to like see what happened and why we can't let this repeat again. Like they just embrace the past and try to teach people to learn from it. So it's like they're doing it right. But Japan, they have this thing where they don't want to acknowledge it, and I don't know why, because it's like it would help with your relations with China to begin with, and it would also help as far as any type of credibility issues. If you're trying to be someone that promotes peace, but then when this is promoted, you're kind of going to come off as a hypocrite if you're like, oh well, that never happened. That's wrong. Like kind of the same thing with Turkey and the whole Armenian genocide thing. There's still like a lot of back and forth and people trying to deny something, and it's like, just embrace it all. That goes for everybody. That goes for America too. I'm American. We need to embrace all the goddamn atrocities we've done. Like all the coup d'etats that we've committed, all the rebellion groups that we funded that were led by dictators that went on to take power and kill thousands of people. Like we have to take accountability for all that shit. The sooner we take accountability for all the stuff we did in the past and are willing to learn from it and move forward, that's the absolute best thing we can do. Don't ignore the past or get rid of it, but embrace it. Understand that's what you did. Learn from it. Be better in the future. Don't let it happen again.
When you're done here, head on over to my channel to find out.
Please be sure to check out Knowing Better's channel in the link below for more on how entrenched the events at Nanking became on the collective Chinese psyche. Japan's war was stunningly successful. However, they began losing a lot of ground by 1945, since they were now fighting a four-front war. The stunning successes of the Communist Army and the failures of the Republican Army against the Japanese meant that the CCP was on much better footing in the minds of the people. The massive conflict had been an opportunity for Mao to prove his devotion to China, and millions flocked to his side. China's civil war resumed not long after, and with the help of the Soviet army in northern China, the tide turned in the CCP's favor. The Kuomintang's Republican Army were forced to retreat to the island of Taiwan, which still calls itself the Republic of China to this day. China was declared the People's Republic in 1949, with Mao named Supreme Chairman. He is infamous for the so-called necessary evils by which he ruled the mainland, both in terms of the starvation of millions of his own people during the Great Leap Forward, where industrialization caused a massive famine, and also the Cultural Revolution to dispose of old traditions and systems, resulting in the execution of thousands of dissidents.
Yeah, see, that saddens me, because China, probably more than any other country, has one of the deepest wells of culture, like as far as the designs, the buildings, the music, like everything about it is just like drenched in just like this rich culture, and to like just toss all that to the side is saddening to me, because it's like if you're playing a video game and let's go even deeper. You're playing a mobile game, something with a lot of microtransactions, and you built up this account that has tons of things that took you years to accumulate, and then you just delete the damn account. It's sad. Like you went through all that work and built all that stuff up. You made it to #1 on the leaderboards and everything, and now you just threw it away. Damn.
A controversial figure in both the West and the East, seen as both tyrant and liberator. China seemed like an ally of the Soviet Union during the Cold War, especially during their involvement in the Korean and Vietnam Wars against the West, but in reality, Sino-Soviet relations grew ever more antagonistic. reflecting their isolationist past. Much changed after Mao's death.
Well, was that the reason why China and Russia split? Like, I heard about the split, but was it really because Russia stepped away from Stalinism? Wow, like, that's mind-blowing for me, because it's like, I assumed that China were the ones that embraced the West more than Russia, and that's what caused the rift between them. But if it's because of Stalinism, that's almost like the complete opposite. It's like, oh, y'all are starting to go soft on us. We don't want to be a part of any like alliance anymore. And then Russia's like, yeah, Stalin was an asshole. I mean, I'd have to look more into that. If you guys know more about it, let me know, because I would hope this isn't the reason why China split from Russia.
Reflecting their isolationist past. Much changed after Mao's death, and the government began to relinquish controls over the planned economy. However, the same year the Berlin Wall fell, when calls for democracy sparked protests in the Tiananmen Square, the Chinese government revealed to the world that they had not weakened and were not going to collapse like other socialist states, by firing on their own people. A more mixed economy of socialism and capitalism triumphed, and soon China's economy began to grow and industrialize at a rapid rate, becoming the first nation to surpass a population of 1 billion. Modern China experienced an even further modernization, becoming the world's manufacturing powerhouse for both low and high quality products. However, even though economically China became more open, culturally they remained well and truly closed, with modern China being one of the most culturally isolated nations in the world. So much so that this video is illegal there.
Chinese internet censorship is one of the strictest in the world, with the central government restricting access to YouTube and other Google services, as well as social media sites like Facebook and Twitter. But lucky for us, Skillshare is still available there. Want to learn how to do beautiful Chinese calligraphy? Maybe you'd like to master some conversational Mandarin, or perhaps you just want to learn how to make authentic chow mein. You can do all this from the comfort of your own home with Skillshare. With over 20,000 online courses, you can learn just about anything from design to science and technology, or even a new business skill.
Quick, somebody make a video on Skillshare about how to overthrow a communist regime. It's there. The opportunity's there. The cracks are open. Let's get in there. It's like, that's playing, but I'll talk about more.
It's time for you to stop procrastinating and start learning something new today with your premium account. And just for Sweeney viewers, you can get 2 months premium subscription for free when you head to the link below. Head to Skillshare today to start learning, and rest assured you can continue learning when you visit China. Thank you everyone for watching. Please like and subscribe, and if you're looking to help the channel in another way, you can head over to my Patreon page in the link below. Until next time.
Damn. Yeah, China, like I said, one of the most culturally rich countries in the history of Earth. Like, even other countries that have been around as long as China, it's like, it's like China's the only place that, like, in every aspect of life, they had their own unique thing. Whether it was the food they ate, whether it was the way they dressed, the way they talked, the way they designed their buildings, the way they ran their governments, like, all that stuff was just, like, exclusively Chinese. And it's sad to hear that they just, like, dropped everything. Also, the reason why I was talking about the whole, like, Stalinism, like, they really stopped from Stalinism. I'd be disappointed if that was the case. The reason why I said that was because China nowadays is, like, one of the most, like, if you think about a Western style government, nowadays I feel like China is way more embracive of Western ideas than Russia is. So it's like, really? China was the one that thought that Russia was being too soft? But yeah, I guess from a social standpoint, China is still really far back. I'm pretty sure in Russia and stuff, they at least get like YouTube and everything else like that. So yeah, I mean, I don't see it ending well for China. Anytime a country gets that far into censorship, usually it doesn't last that long, because it's only a matter of time before the citizens can look around them and see, hey, all these other people have all this stuff and we don't. And as soon as they start asking that, that's when the ball starts rolling, then something ends up happening. Especially with China with over 1 billion people in it. I don't see that type of idea lasting very long. I would imagine China, though, what they'll do is they'll start to get softer and softer until the point where they get like Russia. Yeah, it's a matter of time before the Communist Party in China eventually like falls off, but they'll probably still have some influence. I would have somebody have to know if anybody out there has more knowledge on the history of China as far as the government running it now, the censorship that's going on in China, or if you want to go back and talk about the individual cultural things that are unique, and that's some stuff that people don't really know. Like, did you know that China did this? Like, anything that might be unique but a fascinating like trivia fact, go in the comment section and let me know, because with how long China has been around and how unique its culture has been, it would probably be a lot of different facts out there that I and a lot of other people don't know. So if you know them, feel free to share them with us. Again, this video was done by Su Buen. Again, the link for the channel will pop up right around here, the last 30 seconds. Click on the icon, it'll take you to their channel. There's tons of other countries that they've done the history, anime history of. So if you want to check out more, that's where you would go to. Now, with that being said, I'm Devon Da Vinci. You just been a little bit more enlightened. I look forward to seeing you guys in a future video. I'm trying to think about where I would go to next. Well, whatever. If you guys have a country that you want me to do a reaction to, like I said, leave it in the comment section down below, and I'll go ahead and give it a check. I'll give it a try. Also, they have a Patreon. I have a Patreon. If you want to see exclusive content like me doing reactions to movies, which are not available on YouTube, or an exclusive TV show, which I'm going to announce very soon, me doing reactions to the episodes, go join my Patreon. It's only $1 a month, and you get access to all that. So with that being said, I'm wrapping this up. I'm going to give you the deuces. Hopefully you've been enlightened, and I'll see you guys on the next episode or next video. Deuces.